Igor Zhovko, welcome back to the program. I know you're not going to go into a lot of military detail, but what can you tell us? Are we right that you're making incremental gains?
Look, Christiana, sorry, I will not be really much more in detail. This is a much speculated topic in many media. I will tell you, I will just repeat my president saying that some counter-offensive actions are already underway. We will not only certainly not comment in public in which exact places and what the gains are. My president said you will feel it, definitely. And also he added that the mood of military commanders who are in charge of these operations are very positive. And when the mood of generals is positive, you can count on very promising results.
So let me ask you, because as we said, the NATO Secretary General is in Washington meeting with President Biden, and he'll be holding these meetings tomorrow. And clearly the state of the war, the state of the materiel that NATO is providing will come up. We understand that there's been quite a lot of American, like Bradley fighting vehicles, for instance, that were destroyed by the Russians in the first wave of the counteroffensive. I'm asking you this in terms of trying to understand how everything that you've been given so far is measuring up.
Well, you certainly understand the important role of Western material, of Western weaponry and ammunition, which is of great need in Ukraine. When preparing the counteroffensive, we really, wanted this level of ammunition and weapon to be in enough quantity. But you certainly understand when you are at war, you not, have the ammunition somewhere in the warehouses or the artillery somewhere in stockpiles. We are using them. We were using them when defending our territory in the east. We were using them before when we were having the counteroffensives around Kharkiv and Kherson, and we will be using them, and definitely we will need more in order to gain the successes. The counteroffensive should be successful, and the success would mean liberating as many parts of Ukrainian territory as possible. And yes, for that we will need more artillery and ammunition. Yes, for that we will need more battle tanks and armored vehicles. Yes, in the later phases we will definitely need the fighter jets. We're talking with you ahead of the Ramstein meeting this week, so it would be very important for the defense ministers to get concrete decisions on further providing of this kind of weaponry to my country in order to have this counteroffensive successful.
So that's really interesting what you say. The objective is to win back as much territory as possible, because in the past it's been very clear that you want to win back every last inch of territory, including Crimea. And regarding these, the defense ministers meeting in Ramstein, your own defense minister, Reznikov, has said the expectation of this counteroffensive is overestimated, overheated. Most people are waiting for something huge, I would say. That is my main concern. How much pressure are you feeling? Is it overheated? What do you define as success in this counteroffensive?
And once again, this is not the first counteroffensive operation we were having, and definitely, probably would not be the last counteroffensive operation. The ultimate goal of the counteroffensive as a process is to win back all the territories, including the Crimea. So here you cannot have any speculations and any doubts. And this is the ultimate goal for the general campaign, for the general counteroffensive. Well, as we are talking now, the concrete operation, and again, I will not comment you on where this operation is going on. So obviously, the part where this operation is going on is to be liberated, as well as the other parts of Ukrainian territory should be liberated, including Crimea. So, but I can agree that, these speculations are overheated, because you might remember that the first person to announce about the Ukrainian counteroffensive this time was President Putin. Strangely, he's announcing not about his counteroffensive, but about Ukraine's counteroffensive. So an interesting tendency. But once again, please, Christiana, to avoid any speculations and misunderstanding, the ultimate goal of Ukraine's counteroffensive campaign is to win back all the territories of Ukraine, including the Crimea. And when we hear our partners who are telling, we will stand with Ukraine as long as it takes, and when we hear from our partners, it's only the Ukrainian authority, Ukrainian president, Ukrainian people who will define the scope of the victory, we are agreeing with this. Ukraine will have the understanding of the ultimate victory. For us, it is very clear to liberate all the territories of Ukraine.
So I hear you keep saying the ultimate aim, the ultimate aim. So it's not tomorrow, it's not next week, and it's not in the next couple of months, maybe, to get back Crimea. I say that because you yourself mentioned President Putin. I just want to play a little clip of what he told Russian people today on Russia Day. Acknowledge, that it is a difficult time. Let's just listen to what he said.
В основе России
Russia is based on faith and people who go from victory to victory, basing their lives and all their work on faith, faith in victory, faith in justice, faith in Russia.
So as you said, your morale is high and the morale on the battlefield amongst the commanders. He is saying the same thing and that the faith is very strong there. What's your reaction to that?
You know, unlike Russia, we can demonstrate the clear successes on the battlefield, I think, throughout the last 8 months. Once again, we started with liberating the areas around Kyiv and in the north of Ukraine. Then we came down to east of Ukraine, Kharkiv and the area. Then it was Kherson and most part of the southern areas of Ukraine. This is what is on the battlefield. We managed to liberate more than 50% of the territory captured by Russia during this open aggression, which started in February last year. So very simple. We will continue on the same path and with the same level of success. And this is due to our armed forces, and this is due to the support of the Western community, rendering to us the necessary level of resistance, the necessary level of weapons and ammunition.
You have lost, like the Russians have, a lot of in your case, your best people on the battlefield. The deaths are, very, very tragic. And I'm sure it must cause a huge amount of pain to you and your government and to the families. But also you're undergoing a terrible humanitarian crisis. What is the situation around Kherson, the floodwaters, and is it under control, or is that dam still compromised?
Well, after this terrorist attack Russians made on the dam on the Kakhovka hydropower plant, there was a clearly act of terrorism. They mined this territory immediately when they captured it in the beginning of open aggression in February last year, and they were planning it, and they did it exactly on this time. I don't know, maybe fearing of possible Ukrainian counteroffensive in this part of our territory. But what we're having now, we are liquidating the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of this terrorist attack. We're saving people. Almost 3,000 people are saved on the controlled part of Ukrainian territory. Unfortunately, the situation on the uncontrolled part of Ukrainian territory, of Kherson region, is much more difficult because these are those areas which mostly were affected by this flood. And unfortunately, more than 25,000 people are still in poor conditions on this uncontrolled part, and Russians would not take any action to evacuate people, nor they allowing international institutions to approach to the areas and to save the people or just give them elementary conditions for living. But as far as the longer-term aftermath of the disaster are concerned, we can only calculate them when the water will go down, and we can be thinking that in several days this will be the case, and only after that we will count and collect what the aftermath will be for the food security of the world, because that's where the most horrible land were situated on the south of Ukraine. What will be the aftermath for the environmental situation? What will be the aftermath for biodiversity? What will be the aftermath for the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the Kakhovka reservoirs were the main source for cooling off the reactors in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. And here, where the international community should help us not only to, to examine the aftermath, but also to bring to justice those people, and this leadership was responsible to making this terrible ecocide in the 21st century.
Igor Zhovka, thank you very much.